Wicked Finch here, and I'm joined by Fawn, who's comfortably moved over to the 2 seat for me. Appreciate you doing that, man. Now, in this next set, we just finished up with Europe in that first set, a very one-sided 3-0, if I might editorialize. We're now moving on to Brazil, which we're expecting to be, I think, a bit closer here this time. The 2 seed and the 3 seed about to battle it out.
Yeah, second and third seed with Incontrol versus Carnage Gaming. I mean, I'm expecting to see a very very close set if anything today. I mean, Parallax still having been undefeated throughout the set, being the first seed, but these two have been duking it out consistently, and
Yeah.
they have around the same sort of score line in terms of wins and losses. It is the map differential that really sets them apart in second and third seed. So I'm expecting them to bring their A game today. Honestly, I mean, this is going to be a close game.
Yeah, it almost feels like a battle for the right to challenge that Parallax throne,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, right? You want to be the one in pole position, right, to try and catch back up. I guess it's not pole position; you're in second. You're close to pole
Right.
position. Hey, no one critique my old '80s game references here at this point. So we're getting ready then to start going into this match. As you said, we expect this to be one that's close. But is there anything that you're expecting, I suppose, from this meta in particular to be different from what we might normally expect to see, or do you expect this to be a bit in line with everything else that we've seen up to this point?
Well, in the Brazilian region, they've always done things a little bit differently. Back when everybody was picking Anara before Avora's Pact came out, before we were on this newer, more fresher patch, there was a lot of people that still felt like that Barrack had a place to be in the
Yeah.
meta. There's a lot of times where we saw Barrack end up being picked in the Brazilian region. So it so if anything, I would assume that some of these guys might be a little bit different. We may not see the Torval, we may not see the presence there. Personally, I believe that since they do things a little bit differently over in Brazil, they may not feel as necessary to follow what other regions are doing.
We'll get our chance to see exactly what it is. Now, real quick, In Control already took care of Ice Mines and Frog Isle. Those are banned away. Carnage banned away. Jag Falls and Splitstone, it looked like. So we'll get ready to go into Stone Keep for our very first map here. A great one to start off on, right? Stone Keep, because this is one of those maps where we're kind of coming into it. You expect things to be fairly standard at the very least, right? Is it going to be about that keep side control? Is it going to be more about moving into church? Those kinds of questions. And then how does your team function into that offense when you're pushing down some of those longer sight lines? That's what's
Mhm.
going to be kind of the central thought process for both these teams.
Well, you already have off a Strix ban on the side of In Control, which makes sense. People like to play back towards the spawn by fireplace. If anything, they want to watch and keep lines of sight over the objective.
Yeah.
Anybody that might be peeking out over keep, anyone that might be coming from the opposing enemy's banana in that little window around that curved sort of walkway that people like to mount up through that leads directly into keep. So, I mean, I can understand getting rid of the Vivian as well. I mean, it's Vivian. I don't think there needs to be much else said about that. And Zen on the side of Carnage Gaming also says a lot. They don't want to deal with a lot of those aggressive flanks as well, but they leave open a lot of the usual suspects that we see
Yeah.
get picked up here. Both pocket picks are up. You have Torval if they want to end up drafting that one. So I'm interested to see how this draft is going to go.
Yeah, I also wonder if maybe even Victor, if they do decide to go for it, is at a bit of a
Mhm.
premium here with Vivian and Strix both removed. We'll see. First off, though, kind of as you hit first, these pocket supports gotta go. So Genos goes over to In Control, Corvus goes over to Carnage. And as you suggested, I wasn't so sure if we'd see it outside of NA, but here it is for Carnage, right? Picking up this Torvald. And now between this Corvus and this Torvald, whoever they pick as this main DPS fun, I feel like good luck killing them.
Yeah, I mean, having a double pocket like that, I mean, you've got the
Yeah.
shield to be able to provide not only more survivability, but have sustain in that fight. The person you're going up against is going to have to blow through that Torval shield, as well as worried about the Corvus pocket, giving that a little bit of extra life steal, dealing with that. But in control, they go with Shaolin, Lex. Me and Krezik have talked about this a lot when we've both been on cast together about the potential that Lex has, but it's the RNG that holds him back, and I still think that's something that I really stick to. You have the retribution to really be able to try and see if you can do burst damage to a random target on the opposing team. So when it comes to everybody else that's not that target, it can become a little bit of a struggle for Lex to try and win those. Shaolin though, 1,000 damage per shot, you can't complain. That's good damage.
No, I don't think that you can. It's just that now on the other side, Carnage have this Corvus Torvald, and I think the question has been answered about who we potentially might see getting some of that boost, right? Alongside this Victor and the Rom up front to eat some of that damage. I wonder if we'll see someone else come in here to this one to add a little bit of extra frontline, or if they'll rely on this Rom as that solo tank there for him. But this is no, an excellent draft here for Carnage so far, kind of built around this Victor and all that damage he can provide. But take a look at In Control here, Fun. The Shaw, Lex, and Cassie. It's a triple DPS comp with the Nando up front, not an Inara like you might normally think. It's a Nando up there to kind of hold that front line.
Interesting. And you have on the opposing side, you've got Carnage Gaming. They've got a double pocket. They've got Victor. They've got Rom. They've got Mave. Rom, Mave are obviously going to go in, try
Yeah.
and dive into that back line, just take apart the team composition that In Control have at the seams, right? But I mean, Victor is going to be pretty much chilling in the back. I think their perspective here is I guess they would leave Torvald back with Victor, make sure Corvus is both with that Rom and Mave in a better position, obviously in a spot that's not going to get him killed, but make sure that he can keep up the heals on those two because Victor's going to stay in the back. Victor's not going to really
Yes.
move in. He'll push up with his team, but he's not going to be diving them like Rom and Mave is. I guess they want to take the heat off of that Victor. They want to leave Victor uncontested on their side of Carnage Gaming and put the pressure on In Control. In Control, they got that triple deeps. They have the sustainability. It's up in the air for me personally with both of these compositions.
It's close, right? That initial
Yeah.
push is going to be so critical to kind of see if this triple deeps can break through or not. Let's go ahead and move, though, into this very first map. Again, it is Stone Keep that we're going to be taking a look at here, Fawn, and I'm excited to see exactly which one will prevail, right? Between this triple DPS and their ability to sort of strike at multiple points at the same time or stack together, or this Rom Mave push that's going to be happening. Will that be strong enough for them to try and find a way to push back through? So we'll see how that works out, Fawn. We're right on the precipice of this very first mid fight. So some resilience is already being picked up, trying to deal with some of this control. And we can also see that it's going to be a lot of keep for this first initial fight. They move up with that Nando first, but Scooter is already in some trouble. He falls quickly. Amadeus way in the back when the Cassie finds the damage, and that is a problem. Boy, do they need the Rom Fawn, and already In Control. Well, not to be funny, but they're in control.
Well, I mean, at the same time, it doesn't look like they will be for much because those health pools were extremely low. Sure, you take care of the ROM, but at what cost is the question? Because you see a lot of these, a lot of the fight, a lot of the presence being broken out over keep. That's what people want to fight for. They want to have the opportunity to take care of that high ground, have a perfect look over the objective, also make sure they can see a little bit into church as well. Controlling keep means that you have access to a lot of different vantage points that the opposing team will have a problem trying to fight back against. But even still, they were able to kill the ROM, like I said, but they took so much damage in the long run. They don't have that survivability that Carnage has.
Yeah, it clearly hurt them on that one, as despite that early pick, they end up losing ground. Amadeus and Kaiser both go down. They still have Mika, but a lot of ground's been given up. Carnage now in control of the mid, and they're starting to get a little percent of their own. In fact, having some decent control. This has been a slower mid fight than perhaps I expected, but In Control playing it a bit slow and want to move together, and Carnage, I think, respecting that pace. So this is critical now for In Control. If they force Carnage off of this mid, they've got their own Nando back out looking for control, but Cool still has that position back and keep the barrage being used as well. And that is enough to get rid of Mika, though Kaiser gets the kill onto Ares in trade. So it's been 1-for-1, but neither team still with mid-control. Finally, In Control moved one out, but the ROM right there to contest. Crimson gets Ice Monkey, and looks like In Control are falling back again without that Nando.
Yeah, and Carnage, now they're just going to group up on point. They're just going to make sure that obviously In Control don't come back to retake this objective, and it's obviously going to resort into a point capture, but I'm a little bit concerned about this Maeve here. You can't really peek out right there. She has to try and maintain control of the high ground, but I'm pretty sure she's waiting for Rom before they try and take that advantage. But no, it's actually going to be the Torvald and Victor pocket here, which makes sense that you can't really fight back against them like that when you have such a strong pocket at your back and they're already in their spawn. They have taken huge control over this scenario on the side of Carnage Game.
Yeah, it's a double for Cool. Big ultimate coming out from the ROM that set that up to get rid of the Nando on the other side. That's a part of that matchup that's good for the ROM. Maybe raises just a bit of the question of the Fernando into that matchup, and now In Control have a ton of time that they've got to try and find a way to chew through here, Fawn, and hold on if they're going to be able to hold on to this point. So right outside, already with the cart through the archway, is Carnage. Some high ground control for them. They've got the victor here with this Torval, which you mentioned. Now they've got the controls. The Lex has to drop down. Now he's right in the thick of it down there as well. But Amadeus gets the kill on the Cool, but not before Cool can trade one back out. Ares gets King Kaiser, and this should open things up quite a bit for him. Ares moves up, takes a lot of damage, has to come back, and they recognize that Nando's low. Ares turns his attention to the right, and they grab that kill. The cart now rolling in. No one can step out to contest. The ultimate coming out from the Torvald as well. It buys him a moment. Ares ends up dropping. Amadeus still there and buying time, but can't do it forever. Next up is the Shah, but it is not enough there, Fawn, and Carnage Gaming get the conversion.
They had so much control so early thanks to Cool and Rachao up on the high ground there. They had so much control on that high ground.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to retake it in the timely manner on the side of Incontrol. They weren't able to really scoop that away from Carnage Gaming. They just sort of held on to it for such a long period of time that by the time they did manage to trade it out, Cool and Amadeus killed each other. But the cart was already so far up that by that point there wasn't really much that they could contest. They had to worry about making sure that it didn't roll in as opposed to preventing it from getting to the point that it was at.
Right.
So I guess it comes down to just not responding in a timely manner enough to be able to try and knock Cool and Rachao off of that high ground. But hopefully this time around they'll have a better sense of urgency to keep. But they've already sent 2 of them in there. I don't know if this is a good look so far for Incontrol. They're struggling to hold that.
Yeah, and you gotta think a little bit about this Maeve coming on the backside. Amadeus goes down first, but Mika's right there to help him get that trade back out. Now Kaiser trying to stand tall in this duel up against the Rom. Remember, Scooter was the one that came up big for them last round. Not gonna do it here. He falls to Mika, who's had a great start to this fight. Carnage got 51% while all this was happening, but Incontrol are ready to make their push. They do indeed move up. That forces Carnage to fall back, and the Torbold is in the sights here of Kaiser. Incontrol now, having re-established this mid dominance, daring Carnage and the boys to make it in, but Ares can stand up to the challenge. Kaiser goes down, and just like that, Carnage can start to make their push, but it's got to be quick here, Fawn. 89% for Incontrol, who've now fallen back.
Low health pools on the side of Carnage, but they're going to be healed up almost instantly by that Corvus. I mean, Shaolin is trying to keep them low so that way his team can retake easier on the way back in. They do manage to step on the cart, and they manage to find one as well. I mean, this is exactly the type of play that you wanted, but if Shaolin gets picked off like that, they're going to have to really try and take care of that ROM, but they're losing members by the seams.
Yeah, they're not able to hold on here so far, but the ROM's still out there. Scooter's still doing his job, and boy is it working. The Nano on the other side, though, is contesting. There's the dash, which of course gives Scooter even more options. Barrage is there for the backup, and Ice Monkey is the one who falls first. Kaiser, though, eventually gets the kill onto Scooter, and that is enough with that dash in for Incontrol to win this mid. But can they win the fight after as Cool and the pressure from Ares proves too much? It's a double here for this victor, but this is all in service of defense. They've already lost the point.
This is what it comes down to once again, is will they be able to make sure they have control over high ground on the way in? Because look, Cool, Rachao already back up there, and it's only one of them. They only sent one to deal with Cool, and now Amadeus, a couple members of Incontrol have now are in a worse off spot. They're pincered and they don't realize it. Look at Rom pushing them out of fireplace. Cool, Rachao waiting with open arms to take advantage of the situation. They're grouped up in a corner with low health pools. That's awful. If he barrages at all, they're gonna be messed up.
And he knows that they've got him in a good spot, though. Maybe not ready to use that ultimate just yet, and still it works out. Ice Monkey and Mika both fall. And remember, this double that Ares is getting on the Maeve, this is all keeping Incontrol backed up. Another kill going the way of Ares as Kaiser made his way into the backline to get Cool. And still Incontrol haven't even touched the cart yet, Spawn. Carnage beat them a minute of their time. Remember, Carnage had more time left than this, and they were beyond the archway already when they got their conversion. This is Stone Keep. It's certainly doable, but it's going to be a really tough uphill climb for Incontrol.
I mean, they're at least able to get tick for tack in terms of like kill after kill, but even still, it's the positioning. That's what's winning Carnage most of this. The angles that they are holding are superior to the angles that Incontrol are holding. This might be them getting rid of Ares. This might be the first time they can actually set foot on the cart and try and roll it forward. But even still, Carnage are going to have to try and find an opportunity to get into a better spot. But if Cool dies that quickly, maybe In Control will give Carnage a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, not a bad way for this to start at all with that kill into Cool. Into the back line
Oh,
goes
rip.
Scuderi and he gets finished off. That absolutely hurts. And now In
Rip.
Control should be able to get this cart much closer to this archway than at least having been contested had Scooter been there on the ROM. But still, there's so little time left on the clock. You know what I mean? It just feels like they're going to get a lot of this done in this final push. If they end up losing a couple members, that's kind of just it for this push, and then suddenly you're in a 3-1 position. So about 5 seconds left here before they're into the overtime, and Carnage are going to make their push now. They have Ares move out first. Amadeus is low to the side, but some healing comes his way. The cart has now been stalled, and Cool has found decent positioning to put some shots in. Not enough for the kill, but sets up for Scooter to get it. Amadeus, nice monkey fall, and Fawn. I think that might just be the beginning of the end. A big kill there for Kaiser, but Mika falls, and Carnage get the defense.
I was just about to mention, if Souza knew they were grouped up there, if Makarj, I don't know, I'm not going to blame this entirely on him, but if there was just any semblance of of better comms, maybe Souza could have gotten an amazing through time and space. It looked like he wanted to. He was making sure that when he was using when he was using more of a superior movement, that he was trying to find a position that actually would make it work for him with through
Yeah.
time and space, but he just held on to it. He didn't quite use it. I guess he wasn't sure. He may have not have been confident as well, which is why I'm saying I'm not blaming everything on how I'm not blaming everything on the Shaolin. I'm not blaming everything on Makarj, but I think that he was looking for an opportunity to use that, and that's what they needed to try and turn that around. But they lost a member instantly, and from that, it just went downhill.
It did, right? And remember how this all starts. It's because even though In Control won that mid, Ares was able to start pushing up, get a couple of picks. They got Cool up onto that high ground on In Control side of the map, and we're able to get this amazing zone. So yeah, we're in a position where if they hit that big ultimate there, maybe they can make something happen in OT. But the reason they didn't have a little bit more breathing room is because of how much time got taken off the clock there by Carnage. They put them in such a bad position, and now they're moving into this mid fight 3-1 Fawn with a chance to just go ahead and put this whole Stone Keep map to bed right here.
Right. And I think what they need to do on the side of Ink Control is they've been able to push in with Keep. Sure. That's been working out for them for about all of 5 seconds. And then it ends up just going towards the other side of Carnage Gaming. I think what they need to do is that they need to try and commit more people to Keep. Just say, forget the objective. We're not going to worry about that. We need Fernando. We need everyone. Let's just go. Because twice now they've gone in to Keep with very, very little chance of actually winning it. They've gone in and made sure that their DPS are pretty much in a very precarious position and finding themselves in a situation where, like Amadeus is doing right now, he's trying to see if he can look out for anybody and keep, but all he's going to do is eat damage, and he has to find a better position than that.
Should have effectively every ult here. The casting not very far away, you would think, and already in control with a nice bit of percent to their name. Remember, they still have, since they're down 2, that fast cap working for them. So Carnage move everyone back over towards Keep, and have kind of pushed In Control back a bit, but they still are not sending anyone down to contest. Now Scooter gonna dash his way in. At the same time, Ares gets aggressive in Church, and Kaiser falls first. He wants the 1v1 against Mika as well, and very nearly has won that, but now he has some backup. Scooter here for a double in the backline. Rachel gets rid of Amadeus, and just like that, Carnage have made their way on to the point. They gave up 58% to do it, but now they're in a great spot.
This is why I was saying that Cassie, Amadeus cannot stand there. Because you have a situation now where if anyone wasn't ready for them pushing through Church, which they were ready for, they were able to contest him for a little bit, he was now in a precarious position. Because what's going to happen now? The minute that Amadeus moves in there into Banana, he has a situation where he now has to be concerned about people out pushing him and forcing him to give up that space, which is exactly what happened. He gave up the space and they paid for it.
A big ult from Cool there, and Ares has cleaned up in the wake of it. Carnage are able to take map number 1 here. Stone Keep going over to them. And Fawn, really, it felt like they were in control of most of this, right? They get the capture into a conversion to go up 2. They lose the mid fight by a hair, defend dominantly, I would say, on the back of it, and then come in and win another handy mid fight after that. I mean, they were in a great spot here, Fawn, in this first map. And on a map like Stone Keep, that's not a big map advantage, right? They came in
Right.
and understood
Right.
how to play better.
Yeah, and I think that at a certain point in time that you have to be concerned about overall the perspective of
The
forfeiting keep.
damage.
Like you have to be able to forfeit keep. You have to be able to just give it up. I
Right.
mean that's what you need to take into consideration here. And this is just a quick bug with this. I'm just going to explain it very quickly for those of you that might be confused in chat. If a player disconnects, this happens to the screen. We're still trying to work on getting that fixed out. But that's the last player is missing. But Carnage Rachao is not on Incontrol's team. Rachao is on Carnage Gaming's side. And with that being the case, I can now explain the fact that they have to give up keep. They don't need to go for keep. They don't need to contest that. It's not working out for them. Cool, great. You may give up better angles, but just go to the church. Just go to the
Yeah.
church and try and fight there. Try and fight ground level if anything. You know they're going to be in keep because what happened when Amadeus was there? He was up there trying to see if he can get a long angle on somebody in keep. What happened? He got ran out. That was going to happen anyway, right? So I personally believe that it is up to, of course, the player to just leave. Like you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out that way. There's two of them waiting on the opposite end. You can't fight both of them. And then he got pincered, forced Fernando to back off a point. They had to use Immortal. Then there was curtains from there.
Yeah, and I don't even know, Fon, if I want to say that they got to play their triple DPS composition. I mean, how many
No.
of those fights started with Ares getting a pick, right? I mean, I know
Mhm.
Cool's the one with all the damage at the end of it, but every fight starts with this Maeve kind of picking someone from the roulette wheel of death and taking them out of the equation. It was, you never got to see how that triple DPS really functioned. You're right, I think. Part of it is that they were spread out as well because Amadeus, as you say, was off on his own. And so that left two over there kind of contesting Church, but they were not able to do it alone up against the Maeve, and then eventually Scooter would rotate in, provide some support,
Mhm.
and things just did not quite pan out for them there. And it was so patient from Carnage, wasn't it? Using Scooter more as
Yeah.
an off tank initially, and then bringing him back to cap afterwards once they'd won that fight. It's kind of the way you got to play, I think, a solo tank if it's a ROM like that.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because Scooter wasn't quite playing super aggro with the ROM that we were expecting to
Right.
before. He only moved off of his teammates' engages. He never forced something. He never really started anything. There may have been a couple times where he saw somebody, by themselves and wanted to take advantage of that situation, as good players do. They want to take advantage of a situation that pays off for their team. But a lot of the time, he was moving in with the rest of his team and making sure that he could play off of them. And that's what allowed them to net that win and gave Cool such an easier time.
Let's go ahead, start getting ready to look at these picks and bans here for this map number 2 fun. And I think if you're in control, you got to start figuring out a way to change the pace of this game because things
Mhm.
weren't working for you, even though you were the team with the triple DPS and you thought you'd get to set the pace. So maybe Ascension Peak can be a place where that might change then here, Fun. I mean, feels like a pretty different map to me than from Stone Keep, right? So if in control are looking for a change of pace, I think this can do it.
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with their draft last go around having the triple DPS. I feel like it works in some scenarios, but they just weren't able to live long enough. And you saw
Right.
that really take into effect in Keep. Granted, this isn't Stone Keep, this is Ascension Peak. So you'll have a situation where you still need to make sure that you have uh, better frontliners that can help out your team. I mean, I can't really complain about the fact of having just a Fernando on your side of the on your side of the team. But even still, he's just won't be enough to try and make that value for your squad. So I definitely think that maybe better frontliners here would help out. I love the triple DPS comp, but I just don't think it works into a dive composition like that.
And I think that Scooter and the rest of Carnage are just comfortable in the matchup, right? The ROM into Nando, I think, obviously has the ult on ult matchup that favors the ROM, and we saw that lead to that conversion on to get that second point for Carnage, right? So I think that hurt him as well. That Fernando kind of struggled in that particular area. But now that we're here into Ascension Peak, we see the Andro and the Torvald removed, Carnage banning it themselves from the first pick spot. Meanwhile, In Control stick with their bans, no Strix, no Vivian. But remember, this Zen was banned back on Stone Keep. This time in control. Get to show you why.
Yeah, Zen and Shaolin on the side of In Control. You've got a strong flank, you've got a strong backliner. You have the ability to pretty much win most of your trades, if anything. This is when I'm not gonna see now that I'm gonna say this because I said it earlier with Dave. There's no way they will lock in Corvus and Genos. Now that I'm going to say that they won't do this on the side of Carnage Gaming. Now that I feel like
Of course they would. You knew it was gonna happen, yeah. That's all right, Fawn. I'll handle it from here, bud. If you need to go ahead and go, go ahead. I'll take care of this from here. Okay, it was just a bit of a joke. Good work there, Krez. I think Fawn doesn't know that. He stepped out, but great work on that one. Fawn has hit F12 on life. I don't remember which one it is, but the whichever one where you close out the window. Fawn, it was a joke. I'm sorry, bud. It was a prank.
Okay, all right. I just don't understand like this situation
Oh,
where
they didn't want
you
it
keep
anyway.
they just keep locking everything. Okay, thank God. All right, thank you, Chris. Like I appreciate that because like there's no physical way. There is no physical way that they would have locked in Genos again. It just doesn't make that much sense. But the ROM, I can go with that if
Yeah.
anything. It makes complete sense. Okay, all right, Chris. Like I get it. I understand.
Yeah, but I like this though, right? From Carnage,
Mhm.
because now they've got this Corvus. They go right back to what worked last game with Scooter on this ROM, with Ares on this Mave, and now they even add in this Atlas for a bit more of that double front line, and they still get the victor in the
Yep.
back, and they don't have to worry about a Genos on the other side, even without banning it. In Control would rather have the Grover.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect to be able to have that because we could talk a little bit about what Grover received this patch. I was gonna say this pact, which does make sense. It is Vor's Pact in terms of the update name, but it's he was able to actually have scaling not only on his basic, on his basic axes, but when he throws them now, it scales off of shields and it also scales off of deployables. So that makes him a more prominent pick now, albeit I'm not saying that's the reason why In Control picked him this time around,
Right.
but it is a good enough reason as to why Grover can now cement himself in a spot with the best of them, with Corvus, with the Genos.
Did I miss something? Is Inara just not allowed here? I mean, in the
Yeah,
world.
I mean, yeah,
I
that's a good point.
Now they've gone Nanto and Barrack back to back in their solo tank compositions. It just seems odd to me at the very
Mhm.
least when I thought Lenara was quite good at that. But we're gonna see if In Control can make it work this time. They have triple DPS yet again, Fawn. Do you like it this time better on Ascension Peak as well? I think Kress was just telling me we haven't seen any Ascension Peak yet this phase.
Mhm.
Do you like the triple DPS here?
I think it can pay off a little bit better because there are a lot of different angles that you can take advantage of as opposed to on Stone Keep. It has pretty linear angles that you have to take. You have to take Keeper, you have to take Church, and if you don't do that, you pretty much stay in the back or try and play around Banana like we saw Amadeus do last time. So I'm a fan of the triple DPS this time around.
Let's go ahead and move into the actual game then for map number 2, Ascension Peak. If it's been a minute since you all have seen it, we are here, and this is about as open as you can ask for, I think, in a mid-fight Fawn, and maybe that is an area where, kind of as you were alluding to, this triple DPS can do well. But I do wonder about them once they get onto the offense, because it is a long slog to get this cart converted, and if you have that much DPS, I feel like they might just be a bit in a firing range. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, and I think this Grover's going to play a pretty huge role here
Five,
personally in
four,
terms of
three,
in terms of
two,
talents. I don't really see anything too
and
different. I mean,
fight
Architectonics
begins.
is something that we've been seeing more this phase because of the nerfs that Barrack's Barricade was able to receive. And Architectonics just plays a bigger role there because that means it's harder to try and contest on point with Barrack. Brazil, we've seen them pick Barrack over Anara multiple times. This is for me personally, I'm just used to it at this point to be able to see that. But I guess I guess Ice Monkey's not going to be able in the game for long at least.
Enemy
No, he's already been removed as Carnage find a 2-for-1 to start this off. And now, some control coming from Chow. See if that is enough for them to get the kill here on the Grover, and it is. A 3-for-1 starts this off for Carnage, and they're already running up the percent count here on the point. Yet again, it feels like In Control have come in and just misunderstood the pace of the match that we were going to have. It's Carnage that are running over them with their double front line. They're up to 99% already. Overtime is ticking as Cool ends up low, but with Ice Monkey down, I don't think they're going to be able to contest here. That's Carnage finding the very first mid fight.
Yeah, man. That means that Carnage have pretty much cemented themselves as a very aggressive force to be reckoned with. In Control can't find any opportunity whatsoever to try and take this away from them. This is the same as before. This happened. No, he was there. He had his chance to escape just a few inches more, and he would have been able to make it in the spawn. But the setback for Machao was a little bit too much, man. I mean, I don't. I guess it's Caster's curse. I said that I liked the triple DPS on this map, and I guess it's just I guess it's too much.
I don't think Cool realized how many turrets there were going to be there. He backs up. Mika gets a big kill on Rachao, the controller of time, who we just saw use it to lock down the Grover moments ago. So finally in control, put a stop to this aggression from Carnage. They found some breathing room for themselves here, but I like the way that Carnage are playing around the double front line, the way they're trusting Ares and Cool to find their spots on these backliners as well, and it's made life hard for In Control, but they've got some ultimates now on as Amadeus falls. They feel like they need them. They might need to slow this control down any way possible, and the Whirlwind will come out as anticipated. That does keep them alive. They use 3 ultimates, in fact, and it does work. Scooter and Crimson both end up dropping.
Yeah, and I think them, and if you don't mind for a second, President, can I actually see the items real quick? Because I actually wanted to know something. And yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Makarj, while that fight was going was in the back. He had 3 people looking at him, but nobody knew where he was because they don't have any illuminate. He was able to get the pick on that corpus. He was able to get rid of Crimson, and that kept turning the fight in favor of In Control. Once they get those illuminates online, it'll be harder, obviously, for Makarj to do something like that and put on that pressure, keep it on him. But it'll be even harder, especially if he gets set back. Maybe they don't need the illuminate.
Wow, that's nice opening pick then. They have another one coming. Ice Monkey drops. And I don't know if they'll get a chance to come back out with how close the cart is. The ultimate here for Scooter as well. If needed, he has a way to lock down anyone. The first one out is indeed going to be that Xin. Kaiser trying to buy some time to retreat, but he falls. The second the stealth drops and the cart now close. But Ice Monkey makes it back just in time. Drops down the Gnome Shield as well. But of course, the ultimate was waiting for him from the ROM, and Carnage find their second conversion in 2 maps.
Yeah, typically this is the point in time where I would provide some sort of analysis as to how that happened, but I blinked and
Twice
missed
in
it
a row.
evidently.
They
Right,
picked their
exactly.
shield into this ROM. And it's just working.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely think this is the time where you start to consider a ROM ban. If Carnage end up winning this one, you definitely consider getting rid of ROM, especially if it's not even just for a respect ban. Don't let Scooter have it at least. That's what I would say. Because of the fact that they are just steamrolling right now. It is hard for In Control to keep up with this pressure. I mean, I Barrick, Ice Monkey was on point, I guess, for a little bit too long. When that divider went out, he put it out behind Ice Monkey. Rachao pushed in, they picked off Ice Monkey, and they made it a lot easier for them to pretty much spiral that point lead. And here he goes again. He has to respect this now.
Raj is the opening. Whirlwind back up though from Souza, but they still lose Kaiser anyway, and Ares is still pushing forward, nearly has the damage from Mika, so he keeps on moving. Ends up costing him his life, but Rachao does clean up the Shah. Ice Monkey falls as well, and just like that, Carnage in control yet again. And once again, I'm doubtful if In Control will find another touch. The setback there, Rachao gets Amadeus as well. Carnage now up to 78% already.
Yeah, that's good response, honestly, from Barrick this time around. But even at the same time, that divider being so huge means that when you have 2 backliners on your team, and there's only 1 flank, and you have no off tank, that's when this starts to fall apart at the seams. That's when this team doesn't, this composition isn't as effective, because you don't have anybody to go with Xin. Zin's pretty much by himself. They can't help you from long range because you have to play into a divider, which on the side of Atlas, that's hard. That's going to eat the Enlightenment. If he tries to use it at the last second, that's going to eat any of the Leon shots. That's going to eat any of the arrows that Shaolin has to be able to provide. Just like that right there. And it's going to allow them to keep on rolling the card forward. In Control have to be a little bit more aggressive. Even with their composition, they have to play more in their face, just like Carnage is doing right now.
And they might even find another as they see exactly where the Leon is. Amadeus does a good job to get 1 kill. Kaiser has the guillotine. We saw him pick it up, but it was not enough for the kill. In fact, Cool gets a double. And Carnage look like there's no chance of them slowing down, no chance of them relenting. And In Control have got to find a way to hold on. They have the Whirlwind. They have this ultimate for the Leon to come in with as well as the wall dropped by the Atlas. Rachao has been such a thorn in their side, but Ice Monkey barely draws their Ares gets the kill on Amadeus in the sky. And Carnage are able to keep right on truck, and that is it. You're going to have a hard time finding a more one-sided 4-0 than that. As Carnage, they don't slow down at all.
No, they don't. And I think that maybe, okay, I said that I like I said that I like the triple DPS on this map. Maybe just don't do it next time. Now, like I think that might be what it comes to. You get rid of ROM and you don't do triple DPS again because it is very clearly an issue of survivability. That is what it's coming down to. In these fights, they aren't able to keep themselves alive long enough. You have the healing numbers on the side of Grover, but his team died so quickly that he only has 50k. Like that, like
Yeah,
in terms of healing. 84,000 on the side of Carnage. They're able to be in these fights a lot longer because of the frontliners that they have. But then you take a look at the KDAs, and then you start to understand, okay, that's why Grover doesn't have as much. So that's why they can't really death ball this. Because, like I said, they're playing into a divider. They're playing into two very strong tanks that you have to burn through pretty much. I'm going to say 4 health bars. You have the two that Rom already have, and then you have the rewind that Atlas has to make sure that he is already juiced back up with his health. So I mean, it's a lot to burn through. Doesn't matter what DPS you're playing.
yeah,
Even with guillotines, you saw it didn't even kill Rom when he
right.
had 2 health bars available to him. So I think that maybe they just want to try and contest with some more frontliners, have a stronger pick. We haven't seen Anar.
Right? And fun, no aspect of it worked for In Control, right? You think
Right.
about the Dome Shield Barrack and how that gets countered out by the Cataclysm. You think about how Ares was able to effectively once again make it so the triple DPS never got to function as triple. Instead, they were controlled and they were brought down to 2 right at the start of the fight. You saw how Rachel took the backliners out of the fight with that Atlas. None of it worked for them. And now here we are moving into map number 3, Fawn, and it's feeling like to me that In Control have got to find something else to slow them down. It'll be Warder's Gate here, and it is going to be In Control, right? Loser's pick. I just don't know if it's going to be enough with the way this set's gone so far.
I mentioned it before. We've seen BR and the Brazilian region really take Barrack over Anar. I think in a situation like that, you don't do that. And I think that you try and make sure that you keep control over that Anar. Carnage, they've had no interest in taking Anar. Clearly, we've seen that be the case. We've
Right.
seen them run the ROM multiple times, and it seems like the band column, you get rid of the Strix, you get rid of the Androxus. I would hope that what they would do is that they would leap. Yes, I think this is perfect because that means that not only do you put a damper on Scooter's potential with this
Yeah.
ROM, that means that Carnage cannot ban a healer. They have to ban a flank, and that leaves both of those pocket picks open. That leaves Corvus and Genos. You get the first pick on the side of In Control. I like the bans.
Yeah, I think this makes some sense from them, right? And it just gives a bit
Oh,
more
okay.
viability to some of those other front lines they wanted to play, right? The Nando and the Barrack, if they feel like they want to play them, don't have to worry about the Cataclysm this time around. It is the Vivian, though, that's being first picked. And this is already a big switch up here for In Control. They had so much damage to their backline. And so far, Carnage has proved they'd rather this Corvus over the Genos. So you feel pretty comfortable that'll come back around to you to boost this Vivian.
Yeah, Corvus Mave. So you've got good survivability on the side of Carnage Gaming and
Scary, though.
Control. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely scary. I mean, you have that mark to be placed on Mave. It gives her some extra life steal, a bunch of other passive buffs to her as well. So it definitely is pretty strong to be able to have that on such an aggressive flanker. But in Control Nation, you've got 2 really good backline DPS. You've got Vivian, the best of the best, always seen banned. Cassie is going to be the second pick to that, and then you have Anara, just what I mean. Hey, I guess they were listening this time around. I guess they just understood what needed to be done. They have the Inara this time, and that's going to be harder for Carnage Gaming to play into if they have those sort of dive compositions. Which I knew if it wasn't the ROM, it was at least going to be the Ruckus, since that's what Scooter likes to play. But even still, I think having the Inara, that's a great start. And I think if you end up picking the Genos here, which you don't have to, but I think if you do, that you'll end up having a good start. Magamba is an even better healer though for this comp.
Right. For the Inara, it makes a ton of
Mhm,
sense to me. Not a lot that's better at the actual point healing than he has. And now this Talus as well.
mhm.
So now you have this flanker who's guaranteed to make into the back. I remember that's what this Zen has struggled with, is that potential to be able to make his way all the way there and then actually get a punishing kill. So maybe we'll see that come through in some trouble for the Corvus this time around. But is it going to be enough? Because Carnage pull out the Lex themselves this time. They still have that mobile. I feel a bit more pseudo frontline this time, not like the
Right.
ROM, but still he can do that, right? With that ability to be aggressive. And you still have Ares on this Mave, which they have not had an answer to since Stone Keep, right? Since that map and onward, Ares has done whatever he's felt like.
Yeah, and I like the Lex here personally because it gives them that sort of pressure to keep it on Anara. Whenever Lex is going to have the law up, he's going to have an execute ready in his back pocket. If she doesn't have the Earth and Guard up, that means that she's going to get blown up almost instantly, and that's going to be hard for In Control to try and sit here. Okay, I will say this again, and hopefully this works out. I like the triple DPS on In Control on Warder's Gate because they have an Anara and a Maldamba at their backs. I think this works way better for a triple DPS comps.
Right, it provides some additional control. Think about the Dread Serpent and the Seismic Crash, right? And then triple
Mhm.
DPS to follow that up. Absolutely disgusting. As we're ready to move into map number 3 here, Warriors Gate. And Fawn, I'm kind of hoping this isn't all of a sudden the final game. I expected this one
Right.
to be real close. And yet so far, Carnage have run over them. I think it was 4-1 on Keep and then 4-0 on Ascension Peak. So In Control, let's see if they can find some control.
Yeah, I nothing too different in terms of the talents. And I want to mention something before. I talked about the RNG of Retribution. They did change it this patch, and that's something that I should have mentioned. Shout out to Krezlik, of course, for reminding me that that was the case. It applies the bounty to the closest person to you now, so it's still RNG, but it's not. It's a little bit easier to be controlled of anything. And oh my goodness, the card just gets melted like
Yeah.
instantly.
Apparently Mika's pretty easy to control too, as Cool does exactly that. That means now Carnage should be able to establish some control, but In Control are bunkered down in this room. Amadeus knows he has the damage, steps up to the window and has some backup provided by the Inara, but that leaves Souza and Kaiser in the back unprotected. They do at least get Rachao, who pays for the aggression, but Amadeus still standing, gets the double, nearly a triple as Ares escapes him, but Crimson cleans up those last 2 kills. Cool is back, locks down Ice Monkey, and they should be able to get some decent control going. They'll send Cool up. First time we see him not on the Victor and looking plenty good on the Lex.
Krezlik, that Corvus held on to spreading influence, didn't he? He did have that, right? He did stay with that, didn't he? Okay, yes, he did stay with spreading influence. I they they wanted all of the smoke because I was not expecting Crimson to move to the back line and kill Souza. Like he went in with the rest of his team. He just killed the other support respectively. I was just asking because I was like, goodness, why did he push up so far? He was being so aggressive, and it's paying off for Carnage in troves. They're just breaking it in right now.
This is how it's been all set long, and will it continue? Carnage has won the first point and then converted on every map, and look, they're in the spawn room already. Cool. Takes down Amadeus. The cart is a mile behind them, but it doesn't matter. They've cleared the space already. Miko will be the first one to respawn. He'll do his best from range to deny some position to Carnage. I believe they're looking for a little bit more control. It doesn't quite show up there for them, so Carnage moved the cart in. A minute 30 to work with from this point, though, Fawn. It feels inevitable they'll be able to eventually convert this. Ice Monkey moves up. We've seen Anaris have decent damage. Seismic Crash lands that allows them to lock down Scooter. A much-needed kill as In Control find a way to finally stall out Carnage.
Yeah, Carnage, they have to respect this now. I mean, they lost one of their frontliners. Sure, they have a Ruckus available to him, but he's the off tank. All he wants to do is pretty much go in, force these engagements, and force these fights. Like it seems like they want to do up here on top. Mika's having a bit of a struggle here. He's been forced back almost instantly. Yeah, but the Dread Serpent, beautiful Dread Serpent to peel back Ares. They don't commit to that, but their health pools are too low. I don't think they'll be able to hold on to this at all.
No, not with Cool still back here. Scooter's the one that gets the kills, but Cool sets it all up. So the cart now close. Scooter willing to move out and do what he can to contest. Actually helps them get the kill on the Kaiser there in the back, but Souza locks him down. And now, the ultimate being used point blank. The Hexafire is here, and Ice Monkey drops. But it's not enough for the conversion, but it is enough to force these squishies out to try and contest. So Kaiser moves in first. He falls to Cool in the backline. And the cart now close for Chow. Puts down Mika, and Carnage are able to get the conversion again.
How do you turn that around? I just watched Scooter use 2 of his exile charges into a Vivian shield. And he didn't even get the he got the exile on a Nara on cart, which allowed them to contest the point for longer. I don't how do you win that? How do you I felt like they greatly misplayed that. At least personally, I believe they greatly misplayed that. But it still worked out for Carnage. I don't.
Listen, Cool was still hitting a lot of hit shots, man. They got a big Hexafire from Rachao, and it was enough for them to close that one out. Fawn, if you're In Control, I mean, They can't afford to lose here. It'd be 7 in a row. They gotta find a way to stop this mid.
Yeah, but I guess if I was them right now, I don't know the advice I would give other than cry. I guess. I mean, I don't.
Oh no.
I mean, Carnage. I mean, they can't find their footing here. They're being outpositioned. Look at those two in the back. They're already swinging around to try and deal with the Nara, and they get that. They don't have the opportunity to fight back against them. I'm trying to give Triple DPS the benefit of the doubt, man. Come on, like it's not.
It's not panning out.
It's not panning out at all.
That's huge. I mean, they do get this
Oh,
return
don't
kill
look like
cool
this.
as everyone is stacked up in the back. Ares the one that looks to capitalize on it, but Inter Chow finds last bit of damage. Mika falls first, but Ice Monkey has returned, moved to Ares, and now they lock down Rashao as well. So that means the percent for Carnage will stop at 54, and In Control have the fast cap. This could be the opening they needed, Fawn, to get back into this set. As Kaiser, looking to win a duel, can't quite do it, has to retreat. But Carnage have everyone back and healthy. They're looking to push.
Yeah, it seems like for the most part,
Midnight.
Ares wants to start things off with his midnight. He's flinging all the way around the back. They're not paying enough attention to him. He wants to go in on. He wants to go in on Souza. That's what he wants, and he's diving in on him. They force out the Dread Serpent, but nobody was able to turn around and peel for him. They're going to lose their support, and now they realize in the background that Vivian needs to turn around. He was back there the whole time. He was putting pressure on him. He even used the Dread Serpent.
Yeah.
That is the biggest help me that you can do, because what you didn't see the ult in front of you if you're on Souza's team. So what could that possibly mean? That means that there's somebody diving him in the back. You have to be able to stop him.
And unfortunately, they didn't. Carnage's rampage continues. Hexafire, perhaps not the best we've ever seen, but I don't think that's going to slow down Cool on this Lex at all. It's now 7 unanswered here for Carnage. If you go back to Ascension Peak, and Ares not yet done, he got into a rhythm back on Keep and hasn't slowed down since. It's a double for him. Kaiser and Souza both end up falling. Ice Monkey barely makes it back towards safety, but is a brief bit of respite as Ice Monkey falls too. And look how far forward they are. Yet again, they're in the final room. They're outside spawn. And In Control are hoping the cart doesn't come around that corner anytime soon.
Yeah, I think Mika just has to hold on here on the high ground. I don't think he pushes up because Ares tries to dive him previously. That didn't work out when he was coupled with the Ruckus as well. So I think this is a situation where you just respect that. You don't really put on any pressure, but you don't have to, I guess, when Carnage is sending as far forward as they are. If they get the execute here, that's pretty much all she wrote. I don't know
What's
if they'll be
over?
able to live long enough, and that's it. They drop the entropic breach on point. Somebody tries to contest on the objective. They get burnt down by the ultimate, and that's GG.
Absolutely brutal. They got 1 point back on Stone Keep, and it was a mid, I'll give them that.
Mhm.
But that was it, Fawn. It was essentially 12-1 here in this set. And I don't see Carnage planning on slowing down anytime soon. And you have to talk about what Rashao and Scooter were able to do for this team. I think that's where this kind of has to begin. I know Ares and Cool played so well for them, but that's because those two were making so much space.
Yeah, I mean Amadeus with 67K, Cool with 66K. I mean, I personally feel for Souza on that play because I mean I understand he uses the midnight. Ares goes in, but when it's daytime again and he gets dove on in the back line and you hear a Dread Serpent, I didn't see one single soul turn around to help Souza at all in a situation like that. 3 and 9 for Mika, 2 and 7 for Ice Monkey, 3 and 7 for King
And
Kaiser. I
Fawn,
mean,
and the thing is,
yes.
if they're not going to turn around and help him, shouldn't they win the fight on the other side
Yes,
then,
yes,
right? And they don't
yes,
even
they
win that one.
should. Yes, they should. They should
Yeah,
be able to win that fight.
and none of those pieces went their way, and that was the control that led to Carnage being able to find a very dominant 3-0 here in this set in Brazil. It's gonna be our only set in Brazil. We're going to 2 sets in North America, I believe, after this. But man, I thought this would have had a chance to be even closer than map 1, but Fawn, it wasn't. They rolled over them. The first time I thought that the ROM matchup for them in particular was really backbreaking. They ban it. And even that was not enough. They were still able to come in and get it done with this Ruckus, less tanky but more damage, and it was enough for the win.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to some of the drafting choices that they made,
Right.
honestly, on the side of In Control. The triple DPS just wasn't enough to quite bring it home like they may have wanted to. So with that being the case, I mean, Carnage were just better prepared.
They were better prepared today. Congrats to them on that big 3-0 win. That is it for Brazil. But we have a double header coming up here in North America, so don't go away for long. Get right back here for more of the PPC.